everyone, and welcome to the next episode of LEXclusive. And actually, we're celebrating our 3-year anniversary, so thank you for listening to us all these years. We hope we continue to have great insights for you. As always, I'm your host, Nancy, and today I'm joined by our CEO, Pete. Pete, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Nancy.
And Allison, our content director. Allison, thank you again as well.
Of course. Hello, everyone.
So today we're going to tell you how to save money. All right. A lot of our attorneys are very intimidated at the thought of marketing because they're always afraid of what if I don't have good ROI? What if this is a lot more money than I can spend? I'm a small firm. I don't have the funds of big law and am laws and all that. So today we're going to talk about what are some of your best marketing options when they're on a budget. And then we're also going to explain how you can level up slightly if you have a little bit of funds to contribute to your marketing campaign without going the full route of a big budget. All right. So Allison, our first area of expertise is going to be content. Content is one of the cheapest way to do things because you can write it yourself. So let's talk about how content creation is a great marketing option for attorneys on a budget.
It is. Content is like the gift that keeps on giving when you're looking to kind of have the most bang for your buck. Because you have to think if you write something, right, especially at a law firm where you have so many experts in one room, right? You can call on anybody to generate, all kinds of different material. You can do it yourself. You don't necessarily need to hire someone to write this content. Once you get the post, though, you can do so much with it. So it's so much more than just writing and posting it on your blog. After you get a piece of content, you can tag it to the attorney, right? So that sends it over to the biography and makes the biography more up to date. You can take literal sentences from that blog post and turn them into social media posts. So now not only do you have a piece of blog content, but you also have social media content. And you can also revisit your blogs. I mean, we do this at PaperStreet all the time. We go back at the end of the year and we update older posts with fresh information. Maybe things changed in the news and the algorithms, or a law changed or something, right? You update your title tag, you update the title, you update the post date, and now you're really getting to post it twice. So really, an investment in your time to write a blog post on a regular basis at your law firm is going to come back to you really twofold, threefold in terms of your return on that initial time investment.
Yeah, you're correct on all that. This is actually how we started PaperStreet, and how we've been ranking high for almost 25 years now. Is I was blogging originally, and writing content and publishing articles. We'll have some other ideas about newsletters too, because that's what we'll get into later. But that was our first content outreach, basically, to various potential clients. And content's the key. The key is, I think, a publishing plan, and making sure that you basically forecast out at least a month, maybe a couple of months, get the entire team involved. Obviously, if you're a solo, you're the team. So you need to stick with it and put it on your schedule. Like every Friday at 10 a.m., I'm going to write content, or whatever hour and time works for you. If you have a team, you need to have a chart and just assign posts, and make it part of if you have employees, make it part of their agreements, to work at the company. We do that at PaperStreet. Everyone has to have about 3 posts. It can be a podcast like this that we do it, but you need to have at least 3 posts per year. And with a team of 30 plus people, we get over close to 100 posts a year. And it just powers our website. So that's my recommendations on content. It's something that can be free because it doesn't cost anything. You don't have to hire an outside source. And then you can do it yourself. Obviously, you have a time commitment to it, though.
It's funny, Pete. I didn't know that that's how you got started, because that's how I got started doing marketing as well. When I was an attorney, I was writing blog posts, and that's how I got into this role. So content could lead to a career change, but we're not going that route. It's worth just mentioning that when you write your own content, I do encourage you to do some Google searches. So if you're an estate planning lawyer in Miami, let's say, Google who is the #1 Miami estate planning attorney, because a lot of times I'll see that our clients have started writing content on their own, and it's great that they're doing that, but they forget that SEO is going to come into play, that certain tones need to come into play, and things like that. So obviously don't plagiarize what you see on the internet for the attorneys that are ranking highly, but their tone is what's performing well on Google. So that level of education, I know a lot of our attorneys write for other attorneys, but you're writing for potential clients. So tone it down a little bit. go explanations heavy, go headings, not heavy, obviously, but just make sure you match what ranks on Google because that will help you identify what it is that you're going to look for. And that's how, like I said, I mentioned how we're going to also talk about leveling up. So if you have your team writing content, great. If you're writing the content, great. Maybe you want just to hire someone like a freelance editor or SEO optimization person to just make sure those bells and whistles are in place. So, like I said, you could do it for free. You could do it in your own office. And that's obviously much, much better than anything else than to not have the content. But to level up, we would suggest having someone with SEO background just kind of tweak it for you to make sure that your posts aren't for naught.
Yeah.
All right. So changing gears a little bit, but still important, since we've talked about search, let's talk about your Google business listing because this is something that everybody should have, and it's a marketing idea, but it's also vital to your business. Pete, did you want to chime in with this one?
Yeah, this is my idea. So the local search matters on Google. It definitely is on almost all every search. It's one of those top search results, or if not, right below the organic and mixed into the organic. But often it's ads, map, pack, and then your organic search results. So you need to appear on the maps. So just Google yourself, see if you appear on the maps. If you don't, and you're not in the top three, you're pretty much buried because you can get to the other listings, but it takes a click and then you have to scroll down and find, other attorneys and so forth. So you really want to be in the top three, sometimes top two in case someone's advertising. So how can you do this? First and foremost, just claim your profile, edit it, edit the description, edit the services, edit the category, and then add a few posts. And the key thing is ask for reviews. The top ones in the map pack have more reviews. So this should all take less than an hour, except for getting the reviews. That's going to be a little more time consuming. But claim your listing, edit it, get it up there. That at least gives you the fighting chance. And then from there, get more reviews and you should rank higher in your area.
Absolutely. Like if you don't have a Google business profile up right now, you should hit pause and go do that.
Yeah.
It's that important and it's that fast. I mean, if you think about how you use Google when you're searching for anything, right? Like you're looking for like a taco stand or, a car mechanic. The first thing you do is click to look at the reviews. You might check to make sure you can still make that phone call at 4:30 and they're going to answer, or I don't know, they're open on Memorial Day, right? Like that, all of that is being pulled from your Google business profile. So it's way important to set it up and then just keep it updated on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I also encourage our attorneys to check their Google business listing after a while. Because like in fact, I had a meeting yesterday where a client hadn't looked at it, didn't realize how many reviews they had. And they're like, oh, well, that one's good. We have like 30 reviews. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. Maybe you should try to get more. And like I said, so I think sometimes attorneys just kind of put it up there and forget. But you can also add like pictures to it. So if you want to have pictures of your office, which is always great if you have an office you're proud of, you can have you can link that section to your blog as well. So you could have that available to you. So the Google business listing could go as far as you'd like it to go. And as everyone's saying, that's what people look at when they're doing their research. So make sure it's up to date. Try to get those good reviews. Again, there's no cost to do that. You could just send emails to your clients. Hey, would you mind leaving us a review? Again, budget friendly, great publicity, and easy to do. It's kind of win all around.
Yep.
All right, next on our list is we're going to talk about AI. We know you're all dying to listen to us talk about AI since that's probably the thing we get asked about the most these days. So, Pete, since this is the new generation of marketing here, let's talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, so the AI search revolution has definitely arrived. There are still a lot of people searching on, Google and Bing to some extent and so forth, but ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini on Google and so forth, those search results were mixed into AI on even like DuckDuckGo and so forth. So it's arrived. We're seeing attorneys, the referrers from their logs will actually say chatgpt.com and so forth. So more potential clients are going to use that, and it's just going to keep increasing over the next few years. So my recommendation is just ask AI, who's the best law firm in your area. See what the recommendations are. Usually it'll provide anywhere from 3 to 10 search results, depends on the question, how many people they want to provide, but see if you're on the list. If you're not, you need to get on the list, basically, in short. How you do that, you need to claim all your legal directories, because that's the basis of Google, ChatGPT and AI and so forth. So it runs similar to a search engine where it scours the web and indexes all the content out there, and then it performs its queries on that and up pops the search results. So you need to be on the legal directories. That's your basis point. Now, getting all the legal directories, that's, it's not free. I mean, it can be free, but it's 10 plus hours of work because there's, 50 plus lists. We have a list on our website. You can take a look at it. There's like the top 50 legal directories to get. Go out and get them. That's going to be at least 10 to 15, maybe 20 hours of work, depending on how well you want to, fill out your profiles. You need to add in geographic and services areas to your schema. Allison, you could probably talk about content that needs to be on your website, so I'll kind of turn that over to you on that area.
Yeah, and it's so easy with AI to kind of like turn off like the listening because I know everybody talks about it, but even just yesterday, a colleague and I fielded a request. Client was looking kind of like going through their analytics, and they had two of their top 10 social or top 10 traffic referrals was coming from ChatGPT. And they asked us what that is, and it's literally people typing in like, highest ranking lawyer in West Palm Beach or like best PI lawyer in Texas, that kind of thing. So yeah, doing the real, when you're thinking back to your blogging, we've seen a lot of success with like the listicles. So putting out copy that is those best of lists or top lists or highly ranked lists. And then you're essentially just like listing all the people in your firm, right? So you're putting out that content and it makes it scannable and readable. AI picks it up, and then you're starting to show when people are doing these queries in, the various bots that are on the internet. So
Yeah, the final thing you also do is back to reviews. You need to get reviews. Reviews power a lot of the index as well.
yeah.
So get reviews. Make sure you're listing all these best of articles so you can create one for your own website, pending bar rules. You don't want to be like call yourself best in certain jurisdictions where you'll get, a nice letter from the bar association, the state bar. But you need to get reviews. You need to be on other people's best of lists. So, if you can do an outreach campaign to those, if someone's listed the top three, see if you can get added to the list as well. So, it takes work, it takes time, but it's coming and you need to be in the AI search going forward.
The good thing I think to take away from that too is that it combines a lot of the other marketing efforts. So content, which we're already talking about, is going to be part of that. The reviews, which we've already mentioned, is part of that. So I don't think attorneys need to approach AI as something completely different in your mind, because I think if you do a bunch of the best practices we're talking about, content, reviews, directories, that helps with everything. Those three help with search. Those three help with AI. Those three help with just like your actual reputation when someone's looking at your site. So again, like I said, try to just keep in mind that when you're starting to plan your marketing budget and you're freaking out, thinking what should I focus on one over the other, just do a lot of all of the stuff that we're talking to as much as time permits. And little by little, these things will grow on their own. Okay, we're going to talk about more options, but like I said, that was my little soapbox to just kind of mention that to, to everyone. All right, but changing gears yet again, let's talk about social media, okay? Because social media, I mean, let's be real, when we think about these influencers and things like that, a lot of people got their start videotaping them playing guitar on their bed or something like that. So I'm not suggesting that you do that. Maybe you do have great musical skills and you could be the singing lawyer. Maybe that's a great hashtag to have there. But as social media can be very low cost and very effective. Again, you don't have to be a TikTok star, but having a social media account is a great budget friendly way to get your marketing out there.
Yeah.
Allison, you help us a lot with social media. Let's chime in with that.
Yeah, and like continuing the whole like spider web thing, right? That they're all connected. I mean, technically, you never have to write a fresh social media post if you're blogging regularly because you can pull from the sentences and the titles and the sharing of that material at the very basic minimum, right? So, I mean, that's an easy way to look through your social, but social is also free because there are things happening in your office, right? You are I don't know, celebrating anniversaries. You are writing checks and taking pictures. You are going to cool places. You're dressed up for holidays. All of those things are easy social posts. They're humanizing social posts, which everybody in this office loves, right? It's the one thing that we really can't make for you. Like you have to help us show the faces in your office. Um, I think another really big thing with social, and maybe this is where you make like a little bit of an investment, is Canva. I'm sure everybody's heard Canva before. It makes designing really easy, and for somebody who's doing that work in house, being able to get out, basic blog title imagery, some stock photos, maybe with overlaid with like a little bit of music to fit into with some reels for Facebook, or if you're exploring TikTok, you can do all of that in a matter of just really a few minutes of tinkering On Canva, the annual subscription's $120 a year. So that's definitely a worthy investment to getting, making sure that you're supporting whatever content you're putting on there with appropriate artwork. And then when you feel comfortable, exploring a little bit with the reels as well.
Yeah, and like I said, talking about Canva, I am not design friendly when I do that. I've
Same.
tried making infographics and I don't feel creative. I start to feel like I'm gonna spaz out. But you can do things like try like a Udemy course on like how to do it. So those are like cheap $30 courses that like you can teach yourself how to do it. Or just search around the options that you might have. Again, we're trying to keep things as no cost as possible, but sometimes a little investment might be worth it. So maybe
Yeah.
you want like to buy social media templates from someone, have like PaperStreet does it, but like have someone design little templates that you can share when you have a job post, when you have an award. And so then those will be pre-made. You just add the text and they're ready to go. So like if you're like me and scared of Canva because you're not as talented artistically, that's a great option for you as well. Again, keep the investment low and just then you can reuse it, recycle it. And then when you want to level up your social, there's a chance for shorts, reels, and YouTube. Pete, this is your passion, so let's talk about some of that.
Yeah. So that's my thing is you talk about the ways to add them to it is the YouTube Shorts and Facebook Shorts.
And you can do that easily in Canva. They start with templates, right? So Nancy, like you don't have to be afraid of it because you could take the template if you know your colors, right? So I think most businesses have a general sense of what their brand colors are, right? Like those are the little things that a designer's going to put in a row for you, and they're going to have little codes underneath them. You can load all of that into Canva, and with the click of a button, take a template, and it'll change all the shades of bright blue and gray and red or whatever it is, to make it look like it's something you created. And when you're talking about the reels, that's it's a real time saver to be able to do it that way. You don't have to be
Nice play on
a
words there.
millennial to figure it out, right? Like
Exactly.
Absolutely. And then there are also those programs online. I mean, again, you could do like a Reddit chat, see which ones people are talking about that add in like little transcriptions of your video and things like that. Again, you could find one that fits your budget. You could try the Canva route, things like that. So that one may require a little bit of price shopping for whatever fits your budget, but there are options out there that can help you ride out that marketing option for you. All right. Another great way to connect with your audience is newsletters. Okay. PaperStreet sends out our newsletter once a month, and we do recommend it for everyone because it's a great chance to connect with your past audiences, your current audience, and things like that. So let's talk about that a little bit. Peter Allison, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I'll chime on this one. This is actually how we founded PaperStreet. So back in 2001, I created a top 10 horrors of web design in 2001 during Halloween, actually. So it was a themed podcast or back then, or newsletter, I should say. Wish it was a podcast, could have been the first podcaster back then. But so in terms of the newsletter, we created that. I sent it out to probably about 10,000 attorneys at that time, and then got a good response rate. We got literally 50 or 60 people contact us back asking for meeting or services and things like that, and lo and behold, PaperStreet became a company. That was the best way to do it, is produce original content, something that's unique, have a subscriber base, and then kick it out. These days, you definitely need to build your subscriber base. So I'd recommend putting on your website, getting all your clients, all your potential clients on there, getting their authorization, of course. You can't just blast out spam. You don't want to do that. You'll get shut down by MailChimp or Constant Contact and all these things pretty quickly. But you need to build a list and then produce the content.
Yeah, we're doing
And
a project right now
Go
for our
ahead.
client where we're kind of, combing through and curating a list, targeting a really specific group, and we've seen really good results from that. And I will say too, as like a lover of words and just like a writer at heart, writing newsletter openings is one of my favorite things to do. I love to write the initial little narratives and like liken it to whatever it's happening. Like we just did some for fall and like likened it to like, new season, like change of heart. Like we do a lot of times, like with the seasons, like with football starting, or you're going into Christmas and being grateful, and it's a nice way to have a little bit of fun and show a little bit of personality too.
Yeah, it's funny because I think about my daughter's pediatrician's office and they send out like a really cute newsletter every month. And what they'll do is like they'll show little fun happenings at the office. And then they'll also have some important dates and information. And then they'll put like what medical emergencies going around. There's a stomach virus going around. There's a flu going around, things
Exactly.
like that. So it's something to appeal to everybody. And law firms can do the exact same thing. Have a little fun section for those of us that might love a picture of a dog or a cat. Hey, we're all for it. We love that. Have a little bit of important in the know information. Maybe you're changing to a payment by Stripe. Maybe a new lawyer's joining, something like that. And then have something educational. Teach them things. Teach something about someone about what's changing in the law. Provide a helpful hint to something, custody if you're a family lawyer, making a will if you're an estate planning lawyer. And if you have a good mix of content and you're not selling yourself, but you're informing, you'll continue that audience base. People will want to read your newsletter, and then it'll go from there. And also, here again, all of this is interconnected. If you say something in your social media, hey, our newsletter outlined the top 10 things that are happening in traffic accidents these days. Maybe you want to take a look on how to stay safe. Sign up for our newsletter today. Once again, you're advertising for yourself on social media. You're putting something interconnected to turn it into a newsletter following. People will read your newsletter and either hire you themselves, or they'll recommend them to recommend you to friends, family, neighbors, things like that. So nothing succeeds like success. So when you promote the things that you do well, one way or another, it's going to come back tenfold for you. So again, newsletters, they're not very expensive to have, like a program like MailChimp, Constant Contact. A lot of them are going to be based on how many subscribers you have. So if you don't have a gigantic client base, it's not going to be overly expensive. Or maybe you have lists that you can curate to have a smaller cost subscription. So like maybe you think only XYZ clients are going to be the ones that are going to want to read this newsletter. Just have them receive it. Like I said, there's ways to work around your budget and just try to find what makes sense for you as a firm as a whole in terms of who are you trying to reach, but then also staying within the costs that fit your firm. All right, let's go backtrack a little bit to we're PaperStreet, we're web design people. Okay, we love our awards. We love winning our custom websites. We love doing our custom logos. We had so much fun with that. But we realize that not every firm is going to have the funds to do those beautiful award-winning websites. So what does that mean? Do you just wing it and get a cheap website? No, absolutely not. Do not do one of those Wix websites, because even though you think it looks halfway decent, when you take a chance and look at the other websites around you, you're gonna be like, ugh, maybe that doesn't the right way to go and things like that. So there are lower cost website options and logo options that'll help you still look professional without looking cheap and without breaking the bank. Pete, let's talk about this program.
Good design takes time. So we always recommend custom design, of course, but custom design is going to take time, money, effort. So these days there are a lot of modern templates out there that you can go out and get. It'll reduce your costs. If you're handy with design and have design skills, there are do-it-yourself websites. I would still think it's going to take you anywhere from, on the low side, probably 10 hours, on the high side, maybe 20 hours to produce a website. So that is your time. I always say as a business owner, create a value for your time. What's your time worth? Is it $200 an hour, $300 an hour, $1,000 an hour? It depends on what you are as an attorney. Value your time and put a cost of that. If the time comes out to, you can get this done in 10 hours and it costs a few $1,000s internally and you don't really actually have to outlay in funds, great. And you have those hours, go ahead and do a template and so forth. If you don't have that, and you value your time at $500 an hour and it's going to take you 20 hours, well, that's $10,000. You might as well go and pay someone else to do it. So these days, modern templates, if you do hire a team to produce a website, you can probably get away with a couple $1,000s for a good website in a template area. They'll produce it for you. You'll get usually stock images, maybe some images of your firm. You'll get AI content or maybe some content included with that. And that can be a valuable option. You'll have a website and it'll be done and you'll have a good looking website. If you want to do custom, then of course, costs are going to increase.
And there's nothing wrong with starting with template. If you're branching out on your own, or if you're just starting, you're solo, right? You're only one person, that's probably going to be the most economical option for you. And then maybe you work your way up, right? I remember this really meaningful conversation with a client a few years ago, and she said to us in our kickoff call, she had signed up for a custom website. She was like, I've been watching you guys for years, but I hadn't gotten to that point yet. And then finally I could afford it and we're going to invest in it. And it was such a fun project to work on because she was so into it and had almost like kind of, worked herself up to being at the point where her business could support, a totally custom website from start to finish. So there's no bad side to starting with a template, starting small and working your way up.
Alvin,
Yeah.
I think that's like a really great point because I think sometimes what lawyers will do is they'll go with the middle of the road approach. So they won't be able to afford custom. They won't go like a template, but they kind of go like this like cheap designer that's like saying, promising, oh, I can give you a custom website. And then it's going to break. It's going to be built with something like a theme builder that you
Yeah.
can't update. It's going to be built in some sort of cheap technology. It's going to look outdated soon and things like that. So sometimes you actually have to start even lower. So, like, let's say your budget is $6,000. I'm just throwing out numbers here. Let's say your budget is $6,000. It's not enough to afford like a really elite company's custom website, but it's way more than a good template. So, do you spend that $6 on an custom design?
Right.
No, by no means should you do that. Go with a professional template website and then maybe put those funds into marketing so that, like Allison's client that had that great story, you can eventually get enough clients where you accumulate the funds to then go with the higher end designer and developer. Plus, you'll have a bigger client base. So, a lot of times I tell our attorneys, like when I help them like plan out what their campaigns are going to look like and things like that, start lower so you don't wipe yourself out because you could get something really great and professional looking that's lower cost, easier to make. Someone with half a brain can do it really well versus custom cheap websites where someone's like, yeah, I took a computer science course, I can make a website. That may end up biting you in the backside later on. It's just not going to work. So sometimes lower cost for the website, professional, good template logo, and set your goal for in 3 years, a great custom website, in 4 years, a great year custom website, and just build it from there. Don't try to make something work because in the long run, it's probably going to cost you more to have done that than to simply just go with another route.
That makes me think too, you have to consider you need to be able to update it. So
Mhm.
whatever, how it's being built sometimes is like maybe people don't think about because it's not the part you see. But on a regular basis, if you are going to blog and do these things we're talking about, you want to post your podcast, you want to link back to your social, add new attorneys, you need to be able to log in and actually navigate posting that material and creating that stuff. So if you don't have access to a backend or it's so confusing that you can't do it, what's the point? It's not really going to help you.
Absolutely. And that is the big thing. Talk to whomever's making this website. How do I edit? What platform do you use? Do some homework, ask Chat GPT. I'm sure there's going to be some answers for you along that front. All right. And last but not least, we're going to be meta. We're going to be talking about podcasts while making a podcast. So, a podcast is a great way to promote your brand, and it's not all about expensive to do. And let's talk about how that would be a good option for you and your firm. Pete, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'll just talk about costs. Cost wise, it's pretty inexpensive. I'd recommend get a good camera. I'm using a Logitech 1080p camera, so it's pretty good. I do have a nice mic that we purchased that ran about $100. It's the Blue Yeti, I believe. So it's a really good mic, and so that's what we're using, and hopefully it sounds good. And then you may need a video editor to chop this up. Especially nice thing is you kind of repurpose content, so we can take the podcast and obviously upload it as a podcast audio only. We're going to upload it to YouTube in full, so you see our nice, pretty faces. We're also going to update it as YouTube Shorts and Facebook Shorts, hopefully too, and just get those on there in like little 10-15 second sound bites because that's what everyone really wants and all that I have time with. So that's what my recommendation on cost wise is. For a few $100s, you can get this done and go forward. So
Blogs too,
Yeah,
you can add it as a
I'm
blog
sorry.
with a transcript and embed the YouTube video, and now you have an extra blog post as well.
yeah.
Yeah, just chiming in with some costs there. We typically here at PaperStreet, we just record using Zoom. All of us are in different locations. We're all in Florida, but we're in
Yeah.
different places. If that makes sense for you and your attorneys, that's all you need. And most of all the firms that I know are either using Microsoft Teams or Zoom. So your firm probably already has that account. There you go. And then, not to sound like an advertisement, but that's kind of like what Amazon is for. Because, for example, the camera I'm using, it was one of those like deal of the days that I was like, hey, you may as well try it. It's $30. And if I don't like it, Amazon has that wonderful return policy. I tested it out. I loved my camera and it was a $30 investment. If it wasn't, I could just bring it to, UPS store or Kohl's or something and just return it. So like I said, so with something like that, we tested out a $30 ring light. We really liked it. And guess what? It's what we're using. So again, there's ways to like kind of just test the water with podcast equipment. Yes, the microphone was more expensive. It was the Blue Yeti, but that is what was well known in the industry. So we did our homework. We researched that to see what's going to be the best for the industry. But cameras, test it out. Backgrounds, either you do something in your office, film against a blank wall because it's less distracting to have a blank wall than it is to have a Zoom background and things like that sometimes. Or, once again, a one-time fee, pay to have a really cute Zoom background like PaperStreets, we like ours. And then there you go. So it's a one-time cost, but you can have it for as many years as you make your show. So again, it doesn't have to be an huge initial investment, and you can change as you go. Like at PaperStreet, we just changed our background because why not? It's time to do that. We're celebrating our anniversary. So you can do it, set goals and things like that. And then just to touch upon it, because I know we caught your attention with the costs, but let's talk about the content of the podcast. You don't have to be unique. You don't have to be, Travis Kelce's podcast. You don't have to be the expert on something. Talk about what you like and what you know. If you are super passionate about a case you had, or if you're really tracking a law that's going to change, the people will catch your enthusiasm. They will catch your interest and your research in the topic. And that's a great episode. It doesn't have to be that you're researching how to come up with the most creative podcast topic. What's the most, get something that you can comfortably talk about for about 20 to 30 minutes about and record yourself doing it. Because if you have that enthusiasm, that's going to be substantially better than some topic you kind of found on the internet and thought you probably should talk about, but you either get nervous or you just kind of go on for 30 minutes and no one's listening to you anymore. That's not a good approach. It's better to do what matters to you, what matters to your firm, and just kind of play with it a little bit. Get a good editor. You can find a bunch on things like Upwork who can tweak it if you zone out, if your dog starts barking. One of our PPC manager got a delivery when we were filming a podcast episode one. So got to tweak that editing, but again, not a crisis. We were able to get that episode up and running, and it was great. And like I said, once again, this is all connected, as Allison said. Post it on social, post it on YouTube. Spotify is free to post on. We have a Spotify account, post it on that. And you'll build your base. It's like even Spotify has like the option to submit your RSS feed, which is like how you share your podcast, to other channels. So you can start building that yourself. And again, set yourself up with a calendar. One day a month, you're going to record your episode. Twice a month, you're going to record your episode. Just keep some consistency. Make sure you stick with it. And if you have an office of people who really hate it and don't want to do it, give little rewards. Okay. You did the podcast this month. Here's a Crumble gift certificate. You did the podcast this month. You don't have to stay late because somebody else will track your billable hours. Whatever it makes sense, have it be fun, have it have some good enthusiasm, and then let's just take it from there. All right, with everything that we've talked about, I just want to hit one thing, and I think Pete is our expert to talk about this because this is something that's most important to him. But Pete, why is hosting the thing you should never skimp on? That should not be your budget-friendly market option. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, good hosting can be cheap. You don't want to ever go with the cheapest hosting. You'll end up with a headache at the wrong time. The site will be down for a day or hours or just various times in the year, which just creates headaches and problems you just don't want to have to solve. So hosting should be seamless. It should be effortless. You should go with a good quality host. Even I tell clients that come with us, our hosting is cheap for us. The support's a little bit more because we actually have to do proactive maintenance to WordPress, updating the plugins, support the core, answering questions of yours, how to post things like that. So that's what you're really paying for. But the hosting itself is cheap. You don't go for like a less than $10 per month host. You will end up with a noisy neighbor problem to where someone on your server and they'll over provision the server and they'll have 500 or 1,000 other sites on that server, and you'll end up with someone gets a spike in traffic or gets DDoSed or something like that and has malware or something like that, and your site will go down for hours, and then you'll be contacting support and it'll be a hassle. So pay a little bit more. If you don't go with our support team, great, that's fine. You can go with WP Engine directly. They run $25 to $30 per month for minimal sites. Again, what you're paying with PaperStreet is our time to meet with you, do all the plugin upgrades, everything like that. So.
Yeah, and that's just important to keep in mind. Think about what the support's going to be, because again, if something breaks, how's it going to cost to fix it?
Yeah.
Sometimes paying a little more for the get-go is better, because it's kind of like if you're driving a bad car, if it gets into an accident because you've been trying to save money and not buy a car, it's going to total, it's going to be breaking, then you're going to have to get a new car anyway. So sometimes you have to spend more to save more it down the line, and make sure you don't have the catastrophe, the headache, missed hours, missed clients, dead time, or paying money to flat out just fix your website. So again, if you get nothing else from this, there's plenty of ways to save money with your attorney marketing. Hosting may not be the best option for that. All right, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope it was informative to you. Thank you to Allison and Pete for joining us. Happy anniversary to us with this podcast, and tune in next time. Bye now.